Hello and welcome back to another episode of Under the Lights, the podcast that talks all things football, all things Saints. We're on to Euro 2020 action today. A little bit of a roundup of the game so far, but I want to start on one thing here. We're recording on a Monday morning, which is a bit strange. Normally we leave it until the afternoon. And Callum, I see that you're in a hotel. Tell us where you've been.
Yeah, it's technically it's Monday afternoon over here because I'm in Amsterdam, hour ahead of you guys, covering the games at the Johan Cruyff Arena for Alamarch Sport. Obviously, anyone who listens or watches to this channel know that me and Tom are part of the audio description service at St Mary's, and we commentate the games for those that are in the stadium and need some audio description if they're visually impaired. And we're covering the Euros, so I'm stationed out in Amsterdam. Actually, let me give you a quick take a look at this view. See that?
Oh, that is Callum. Come on. That's showing off.
Hey, it's not bad.
It's
I've only been here for a couple of hours, but as soon as I came in, saw that view. It's very hot out here, as I'm aware that it is
very hot.
Yes. The England game. But I had a fair bit of walking to do. But it's those days seem to be beyond me, because that's a step outside here and you're in the kind of area, kind of like the O2 Arena, but outside. So it's like a big events area. I think they've got a concert, and it's very colourful, and even more so yesterday with all those Dutch fans. But we'll get onto that game, because
we'll get onto that. I have to say
about England, right?
Well, before we do that, I have to say you have absolutely no excuse of not arriving at the stadium on time. That's for sure. That's for sure.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Absolutely no excuse. Let's start on England, because we've actually started a Euros competition with a win for the first time.
Wow. I mean, that's all you can ask for. We all would have taken that at the beginning of the game, and I thought the performance was really good. The 11 came in, and I don't think there was an 11 that anyone in the entire country, apart from Southgate, had predicted. But he got the big decisions right. You know, he played Trippier at left back, even though we've got two top quality left backs. Chilwell didn't even make the squad. He went with Sterling. I thought he might go Rashford. Anyone that listened to our predictions for the lineups in the previous episodes, there was a lot of discussion over Grealish. Or it was my thought that he'd go with Foden and then someone with some pace to run in behind. He went with Sterling, who's got a great record for England, and he got the goal and was the match winner. And there's a lot of talk about James Ward-Prowse, and I still think he should have been in the squad, but Calvin Phillips, I thought, was sensational yesterday.
So good. Ran the show, and he just came into his own. He was absolutely brilliant and dominant in the middle, and I thought he was really good at closing off the channels for Modric as well. And England they hounded Croatia around the pitch, even in that searingly hot sunshine. They were just pegging it around absolutely everywhere, just trying to get the ball, and we made Croatia look quite an ordinary team. And on another day, we maybe could have won 2 or 3-0. I still think Croatia are a strong side, and they probably will go through to the next stage. But they're the World Cup runners-up, and we've got a victory, and it's a good victory as well.
Yeah, I think Southgate deserves a lot of credit. He made all the right decisions. Some might argue that Croatia were poor, and in fact, they didn't really test Jordan Pickford at all. We managed to defend so well that we kept them from having any memorable gilt-edged chances. And in that heat, like you said, it wasn't a game that was full of chances. We started very quickly. Foden hit the post. It reminded me a little bit of the first game in the World Cup against Tunisia, where obviously better opposition, so we weren't peppering them as much, but we were on the front foot early, and there was obviously a real cohesion. But it was interesting that he'd gone with the thoughts were that Phillips would go because he was a holding midfielder, and we only really had Rice and Henderson, who's not fit. But he played him in a much more advanced role. We played with a single pivot, and then he was kind of tasked with really getting around the pitch and getting amongst the players. And I thought he did that really well. But what he also did was provide a really good outlet for breaking through the lines. And that's how the goal came about.
It was, and it was him breaking forward, playing that pass to Sterling just right, and it was a really good finish from Sterling. He could have easily have had that blocked, because I thought Croatia, they did defend well at times, and especially for that chance that Harry Kane could have made it 2-0 at the back post, and he was put off by that incredible challenge. I think it was Vishalko. I could be wrong, but basically got enough on it. Didn't actually touch the ball, but put Harry Kane off enough that you'd expect him 99 times out of 100 to slot that in at the back post, but no, puts it over the bar because of the brilliant defending. And talking about brilliant defending, I think someone who was completely off it in the friendlies, Tyrone Mings, actually was really good yesterday, and I thought he was solid aerially. Croatia, they did put balls into the box, but on the rare occasion that it maybe got past a couple of lines, Mings and Stones were there, and I thought England defended really, really well there.
Yeah, no, that was the third decision, wasn't it? He had 3 decisions to make, really, and who to partner Stones at centre back. Who do you play Grealish, or do you go with Rashford, or indeed Sterling, who no one really wanted in the team, and in the centre midfield with going with Phillips and obviously having a lot of trust. But yeah, he went with Mings. Mings, as we said before, is the obvious replacement for Maguire, but he was so dodgy, specifically against Romania for me. But he will be tested much more than he was in that game, I would suspect, in the Scotland game, and certainly in the knockout stages if Maguire's not back by then. But he did what he needed to do. He did it well, and it was really good to see him and Stones, constantly reacting, constantly, high-fiving, praising each other. They're expected to be in a battle, and everything they did, even going out and closing the ball down. I think when Rebic scuffed one wide, and they both ran out to press the ball, and Stones really giving him that encouragement, because he is, without Maguire, he is the main man there. He's the experienced man, and I feel like Trippier was put out on the left for that reason as well. I think they wanted to kind of surround whoever played that left centre back role with some experience, and I thought Trippier was great again. One header back, which almost was a bit of a mistake, but other than that, that was as close as it came. Thought Walker was a bit dodgy. If there was anyone I'd pick out, I think Walker had in the first half had a bit of a dodgy spell on the ball, and then he kind of shepherded a ball out with some real strength, and I thought, okay, that's something to kind of get some wind under your sails and start again. But then after that, he started putting the ball out of play again. In possession was just a bit dodgy, but he defended well, and that's what we wanted against Croatia. And I think there will probably be some changes against Scotland. I think Southgate is utilising a squad where we have many capable players. It's not like 2018 when we kind of had that 11 and then maybe 1 or 2 you might bring in. So, like you said, a win for the first time in the first game of the Euros, and that is a huge relief going into the Scotland game, because it could have been completely different if we'd lost or drawn that game. It could be some serious pressure. Now we can go and express ourselves, and I'd expect to see a few fresh faces, but a really up-tempo performance, because I think it was a professional performance from England yesterday. As you said, in the heat, in the sun, they chose their moments. They kept the ball well, and I think the fitness levels, especially in the midfield, were there to be seen. That's probably where we won the battle.
Yeah, and another point I want to make is, with a win, like we said in the predictions episode, we're probably through now to the next stage regardless, because we've got that win, which means we'll probably be in one of the higher finishing third places if the games against Scotland and Czech Republic were going to go to shit. We've essentially qualified for the next round, because I can of the groups that I've seen so far, there are a couple of teams that I don't think will be getting wins and could probably still finish third. But
obviously that's worst case scenario, in terms of getting to the next round. But England want that momentum. We want to be improving as tournament goes on. And what's exciting is that, we got the job done. We looked good in spells, but there's definitely another couple of gears that we can go up to. And I'd expect to be hitting that peak, hopefully, as we get into those knockout games. But yeah, that's 1 out of the 3 group games done. We've got Scotland next. All eyes will be on that one. And of course, they're playing today in just a few hours from the time of recording. So it'll be interesting to see them and the Czech Republic, to see who's the dominant force in that one. I think we might find out a little bit more about the Czech Republic than we know at the moment. But like you said, we're all but through now, and there are some other games that have happened previously. We're about halfway through the teams, really, aren't we? Groups A, B, and C have all played, and then we've played from Group D. So we still have Scotland, Czech Republic, and then the Group E, and of course the Group of Death, Group F. So what are your thoughts? That's England. What are your thoughts on what we've seen of the tournament so far? How is it watching all the games at home from various stadia, and who's impressed you? Who's maybe not lived up to expectations? Any surprises for you?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that we wish Christian Eriksen a very swift recovery after what happened in the game. Absolutely horrendous, and credit to the medical staff and Anthony Taylor and basically everyone for saving his life, essentially. It's not something that we expect to see. We never expect to see that in a football match, and we're so grateful that, because they're volunteers, the medical staff, and they did an absolutely sensational job. Everyone did a sensational job. So at that when that was happening, I was thinking the football doesn't matter. The football really doesn't matter at the moment, and it puts everything into perspective. I'm very glad that England did win, but I'm more than happy to see that Eriksen is up and stable. So we wish him a very swift recovery. But going back to the football, the first game was a bit of a surprise for me in terms of I thought Turkey were going to be more of a threat. They seemed to roll over. In terms of teams that I thought were going to be a bit better, Russia and Turkey. I know Belgium are a strong side, but Russia were all over the place, and Belgium were just able to have a very routine win against them. Those were games that, although I expected Belgium and Italy to win, I expected it to be much closer, and for it to be maybe a bit end to end, to have a bit more of an opposition. So those sort of surprised me. Of course, they could bounce back and do well in their next couple of games, but those games surprised me. Who else did we have in? Because it was Italy and Turkey. Wales looked poor. That game was really quite low key. I think that 1-1 draw with Switzerland, just low quality game of football for me. Wales didn't look like the team that they were in Euro 2016. I know there's still 2 games left in that group for them to play, but you think that Switzerland is arguably one of their more winnable games, and they didn't get the win. In fact, they had to come from behind. So I guess I'd say of the games so far, Turkey, Russia, and Wales have been disappointments.
Yeah, well, Group A, I thought Italy on the other hand were really impressive. Mancini's got them playing a style of football that is quick, 1 and 2 touch passing through the lines, happy to keep the ball, kind of similar to the tiki-taka sort of football that we saw Spain and Barcelona playing. Obviously not to that level yet, but quite a young side, and they were really good in possession. They made Turkey look poor. Turkey, I mentioned before, one of the underdogs, the dark horses, I thought, and they have got, from a Turkey point of view, and I suppose for Russia as well, they've got the hardest game out of the way now.
Yeah.
So now it's a case of, if we can beat Wales and Switzerland, who really are the teams we're competing with for second place, if we got something against Italy, then there's a bonus. But I think the Welsh and the Swiss would have watched that first game and thought, okay, Turkey are there for the taking, really. They're easily beatable. But yeah, I thought Italy were really good and were well worth their 3-0 win. Great opening ceremony. Just brilliant to get the Euros off a year after they were supposed to. Wales, I thought it was a strange tactic against Switzerland. I thought very defensive. That's what they would do against Italy and perhaps Turkey, but against the Swiss, would
You
have
go
liked to
for
have
it.
seen them.
Mm.
Yeah, take the shackles off the likes of Bale, Ramsey, Dan James. But it just seems to me that their Page is kind of thinking, okay, our weakness in terms of personnel is perhaps defensively. So let's get a bank of 4 and then a bank of 5, and then obviously Kiefer Moore up front, who I thought was good as well, and then hope that our match winners do exactly that. A Bale or Ramsey or Dan James, who I thought was a great outlet as well. Hopefully one of those does something. Keep ourselves in the game, and that's what happened really. I thought Switzerland were by far the better team and were deserving of their 1-0 lead, but Kiefer Moore came up with the equaliser, and Wales, either side could have ended up winning it, but they'll be happy with that draw. I did think Mbolo was very good though for Switzerland. The kind of tournament, it's only one game, but we're expecting that from him maybe in previous international tournaments, and never came about. So I think watching those games, Italy will be very happy with 3 points and pretty happy with the standard in the other games. Although I think Switzerland are better than Wales now. In Group B, just to echo what you said, I mean, what happened with Christian Eriksen was shocking and horrible. I was actually in flight, so when I landed, I then got loads of messages saying what had happened only about 10 minutes before. So I wasn't watching the game, and obviously I haven't bothered trying to watch it back because why would I? But I've seen the incident in the highlights of him going to ground. And I believe on TV, they broadcast pretty much it was about 8 minutes of him receiving CPR, right?
Well, actually, I haven't seen the footage either because I thought Denmark-Finland wasn't going to be one of the. I was just like switching it on and off, and then I was in the kitchen and I heard on the radio it said like in the last couple of minutes Christian Eriksen has been receiving CPR. So I was like, oh shit! Ran into the lounge to turn the TV on, and they'd already BBC had already switched it over to some gardening program or something like that. So I thought, holy crap, this is something. And then you go on Twitter and try and get through all of the crap that people tweet just to find out what the legit story is. So, I've seen the Danish team make a wall, which is heroic, and heard about Simon Kjær being, well, a leader, a captain, and an incredible human being as well for initiating the CPR. So it's just not something you expect to ever happen on a football field.
But so I heard from others that you saw the incident and you saw on and off what was happening. Obviously, they built a wall around them and clearly in distress. But it was just kind of, we've waited a year for the tournament to start. It's kicked off brilliantly on the Friday night with Italy and Turkey. Then only the third game in, and just something like this happens, and it's so shocking. I heard about it, as I said, when I touched down, and I felt sick, like quite emotional.
Well, I don't want to make it about me, but as someone who's got heart problems themselves, like it was just like really touched really close, and I was like, it's just sickening, completely sickening.
And it's out of nowhere as well. Christian Eriksen hasn't got to us any known heart problems, and I think also from his time at Tottenham, and him being a big player in Europe, we know him well as well. So it's almost even more of a shock because we're like, that's Christian Eriksen. He doesn't have any issues.
No.
But when we heard the news that he was in a stable condition and saw pictures of him with an oxygen mask, conscious, coming off the pitch, and since there's been good news and he's stable and responsive. It's just a huge relief because you thought for a while the worst had happened, and I mean that would have just been a disaster for everyone. But they had to come out and play the rest of the match, which I thought was incredibly hard for Denmark. I think for Finland as well. Everyone concerned. The fans had stayed there, and they were in great voice. One of the my colleagues was doing the game there for AMS and sent some videos, and that they were phenomenal. Both sets of fans throughout, and in the end, Finland got the win.
And they almost felt sorry for it as well. There's no celebration. Bless you, mate. I'm the same here. Hay fever, very high pollen. But Finland almost, you could tell they almost felt bad for winning. It was a very strange game, and Denmark can use the situation going forward. I don't know, to do it for Christian or something, whatever. I don't want to put words in their mouth or anything, but it's difficult to predict now. I think it's difficult to predict that group at the moment because one of the stronger teams. I mean, everyone's in a state of shock.
Yeah, and Denmark, along with Turkey, one of the dark horses, and I thought they beat Finland. They were dominant before the incident. Afterwards, they still had the better chances, but it was a game where kind of no one really knew why they were still out there. It was hard to focus for both sides, especially the Danes. And Finland really had one chance, and they scored it. And it's a huge result for Finland. I know the circumstances are difficult, but their first tournament, they get a win. Fantastic scenes for them. But the main thing, obviously, is that Christian Eriksen is well. And hopefully, the Denmark players and their camp, get to see him. That kind of element of shock subsides. They get to relax for a few days, focus on their football, and then, like you said, have that added motivation, and in the knowledge that he's okay.
Yeah.
To then take on both Belgium and Russia. So still a chance, obviously, for Denmark with 3 teams potentially going through from that group. Belgium, again, I thought Belgium won that game without really having to
try, really.
Yeah, let's get out second gear. They were gifted goals by Russia in the first half, and they had a 2-0 lead at half time that they were fortunate to have. And then in the second half, I watched the last sort of half an hour because I just got to the hotel, and they nothing happened. They ended up scoring towards the end on the break, but literally it was a nothing game, and Russia were disappointing. It almost felt like it was damage limitation because it's strange. I've seen it in a couple of games because of that third place being on offer. It sometimes you can get through by losing a game against a big team, but just don't get hammered by them because then you might lose out on goal difference. Seemed a bit like that to me. But Belgium, they should get through that group with relative ease. Should beat Finland. Denmark would be a good game, but obviously we don't know the situation of the Danes mentally. And then I didn't see the Austria-Macedonia game because I was setting up at the stadium, but Austria won 3-1. Macedonia were in that game for a long time.
Yeah, I watched the first half, and then I went home. I was actually working at the time. Saw the first half. I thought North Macedonia were really good value for the game. I thought it was one of those where the way that their goal came about was quite lucky. I don't know if you've seen the highlights, but essentially Austria ballsed up a clearance and it bounced to Pandev. And then the keeper saved it, and I think it just fell to him just to roll it into an empty net. So it was a massive moment for them, great moment for them. And obviously they went nuts. And then it was a case of just trying to weather the storm for the rest of the game, because Austria, of course, maybe a bit embarrassed by the way that the goal came about, don't want to lose to arguably the worst side in the competition. And obviously how crucial a win is. One win is in this tournament because they want to go through in third. And then I think it was just a case of North Macedonia defended, and then 2 quick fire goals at the end. I think once the wall is breached, as it were, you've then got to push forward, try and get something, and they just were caught. So it looked like a routine win for Austria, but North Macedonia, I think, very difficult outfit to break down.
Yeah, I feel like of the results so far, Macedonia might be the first team that we can say with slight confidence might be eliminated from the tournament. Others have got either a point on the board, or if they've lost, there's still potentially a win in there. I'm not sure if there isn't a win in there for Macedonia against Ukraine or Netherlands, but those are the best 2 teams in the group. Austria have got 3 points on the board where they expected to get them. Now it's going to be down to a game between them and Ukraine. probably on the final day, match day 3, to get into second place. But like you said, 3 points potentially could already be enough for them. Macedonia have the Netherlands on the last day, where I suppose their best hope. I don't think they'll beat Ukraine. I think Ukraine are clearly a better side, but you just wonder if Holland have already got it sewn up qualification. If they ring the changes, do Macedonia have a chance in Amsterdam?
But then you've got it's a good point. But then also with Austria having 3 points, North Macedonia really need 3 points to have any chance of finishing third.
Yeah.
So a draw isn't enough for them. I think we can safely assume that unless a miracle happens, North Macedonia are probably finishing bottom of that group. But the one game that we haven't talked about, mate, it was quite an exciting one that you got to cover.
Oh yeah, well, I had a great day yesterday. I got to watch England get the victory, and then I got to witness the game of the tournament and the goal of the tournament.
Was it Yarmolenko's the goal of the tournament?
Yarmolenko, yeah, incredible. I know you messaged me earlier and said sod's law that the only game you've not seen so far was the one that was an absolute belter. But it was a phenomenal game of football. I mean, it was 0-0 at half time, but it was a terrific first half. Bushan and goal had made a number of great saves, but also Ukraine looked dangerous as well, and a lot of counter-attacking. And then in the second half, it just all went off, and the Dutch seemed to be cruising. Got 2 goals in the first 15 minutes by the hour mark with 2-0 up, and Ukraine were very compact, very solid throughout the game, and they continued to play that way. And you just sort of thought the Dutch are just going to see this through or potentially run away with it, get a goal or 2 more. And then Yarmolenko out of nowhere pops one in the top bins, was an incredible strike. And 5 minutes later, Yaramchuk up top gets a header from a set piece. And all of a sudden, the Ukraine fans are in heaven. They've gone from being out of the game to a goal in, I think it was the 75th and 80th minute, something like that.
10 minutes left to win the game.
Yeah, they're straight back in it. And then after that, they were going for the third. But it was Holland who 5 minutes later on the 85th minute managed to get a goal from their right wing back, Denzel Dumfries. So the Dutch, I think, shocked for a second, but showed real character to come back from that and to get that goal and essentially maintain the winning start for the favourites in the groups, really. Italy, Belgium, England, and then the Netherlands all got off to winning starts. So it's important now for the likes of Spain, Portugal, and you've got France versus Germany, which is a tough one. But all of the teams in their own way have come through difficult tests. Ukraine and Croatia, both difficult games for England and Netherlands, and then Italy and Belgium, comfortable winners against lower opposition.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got some exciting games coming up today and over the next couple of days. We've got, obviously, all eyes will be on Scotland against Czech Republic. That'll be an interesting one to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm supporting the Scots, but I'm excited to see how Shea Adams and Stuart Armstrong do from a Southampton perspective. And also just to see the strength of the two teams. I reckon Scotland, my tip would actually be for Scotland to win this one. And again, like we said, if Scotland don't win this one, it's almost a bit like Austria and Macedonia. Then they've got to beat Croatia or England to get 3 points on the board.
Let's go through the games quickly then. I'm with you as well, but what I'm also looking forward to seeing is, even though it's not full, it's the first tournament in 23 years for the Scots, and it's at Hampden. And when that national anthem rings out, it is going to be incredible for them. And the Tartan Army are back, dusted off their Scotland kits, and they'll be their Scotland shirts, and they'll be in great voice. And I think that should give them the edge. And I'm expecting a tight game, a cagey game, but maybe a 1-0 win for Scotland. Che Adams to score, of course, from a Stuart Armstrong pass. That'll be Group D
completed
for the first few games. Then we've got, first of all, it's
Poland against Slovakia. I'd back Poland.
Yeah, Poland should have too much for them. Again, probably a tight game, but maybe a 2-0 win. Lewandowski got to get a goal, I'd expect. And then Spain should overcome Sweden for me. Be interesting to see the Spanish, because there's a lot. This is a weak side by their historically for Spain. So and there'll be a lot of players that I don't know too much about. So it'd be good to see how they set up under Jose Enrique. But I'd expect them to overcome Sweden.
Yeah, same here, same here. That should be a relatively routine win for Spain. And then just finishing up with tomorrow, we've got the group of death. Portugal against Hungary. You'd expect arguably one of the favourites for the competition to absolutely walk over Portugal. Hungary should win that easily. And then, of course,
I'd expect. Yeah, it's in Budapest, isn't it? I'm sure there'll be game, but I think they've lost a couple of their more key players as well, Hungary, so if it wasn't going to be difficult enough. And just be interesting to see Ronaldo. But as we know, Portugal last time out, when they were in when they won the competition, the holders, of course, they drew all 3 games against, who was in the group? Iceland were
I think Hungary. I think it was Hungary. They had a 3-3 draw with Hungary.
3-3, yeah. And the third side, I can't remember, but they were no great shakes either. They couldn't win any of those games. So be interesting to see how they've progressed. But I do feel like they've got better players this time around. And then to Munich for the World Cup holders, France against Germany for what is the most mouth-watering game of this first round of fixtures.
Cue it being a really boring, cagey 0-0 draw.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Not with those French players on the squad.
No.
France are the favourites, and they've got much the better team. But Germany still have a lot of top-class players, and they're at home. I think they'll feel quietly confident. So a Portugal win, and I would go for I feel like we might see a draw, but France should be too good for them. So I'm going to go with I think German defence will struggle. I think they're lacking pace. I think they'll struggle against the likes of Mbappe and Griezmann. And of course, Benzema's back in now. They've got some great talent.
I'm backing France as well. And I think, it should be a cracking game. So I think that is all that we've got time for at the moment. We're going to try and do these Euros roundup, look ahead episodes as regularly as we can, of course, work permitting. But we hope you enjoy them. And of course, if you want to send anything to the podcast, you can find it at _Saints on Twitter. You can find me at T214 Murray.
Yep, you can find me at Callum Wilson 21. I think we'll probably pencil the next one in shortly after the England-Scotland game. That's Friday night. So Friday night or maybe Saturday morning, depending on where we are.
Yeah,
we'll just do them after the England games. Focus on them and then do a brief roundup of what else has happened.
Sounds good. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and as always, stay safe, stay wonderful.